so you can see before I do how this actually turned out. Aloha and welcome back. If you saw my video on finding your art style, you know I'm not a huge fan of abstract art, but with this acrylic pouring thing, I've got a lot of abstract art that was unintentional. What do I do with this art? Do I throw it away? Do I sell them? Do I just hang them on the wall with the hope that someday I'll appreciate them? I don't think so. What I need to do is turn them into something that I like. Dang, there's so much traffic here, it's crazy. I've seen on YouTube where people have used stencils of mandalas over abstract art. It looks really cool, but a mandala, that's just not my thing. I'm gonna find something else. So, I got these stencils. I'll put a link to them in the description below. So I've got sea turtles, a couple sea turtles, a starfish, seahorse, and the big one I've got the same. Yeah, but there's 5 of the big ones and then 4 of the small ones. So what I did is I took one of my abstract art pieces. It looks like an ocean, so I did a sea turtle on it. I did one of the small sea turtles, turned out pretty good. It was a little darker than I would have liked. I just decided to do it in green and then put some light green in between. Today we're gonna do another one because I thought it looked cool, so why not keep going? So I'm gonna actually create a abstract ocean piece on purpose. So let's get to the pour. Okay, the colors I'm using today, I've got a deep green, I think it's a deep sea green, and then I've got a deep sea green that I mixed with some white. I've got turquoise, sea green, Caribbean blue, and then a deep violet. And I'm gonna add some gold in too. So I'm gonna add a couple drops of silicone oil to this. And then I want my cells to be fairly big, so I'm just gonna stir it a few times like that, and we'll call it good. Like I said, I'm trying to keep this one a little bit lighter, so I'm gonna go lighter on the dark colors and then heavier on the light colors. Let me just get some of the edges here. I'm gonna do these 4 turtles. I'm actually gonna do it at an angle. So I have bottom turtle is pretty much horizontal, and then this top one is like heading up towards the corner. In fact, I'll bring it down just a little bit. And I'm just gonna use some painter's tape to hold this down. And what I'm gonna use is, it's called Extra Heavy Gel Gloss. It's an acrylic based medium. What it's going to do is, I don't want the paint to go underneath the stencil. I want it to like stick to just the areas that are free. This heavy gloss medium will keep all of my paint from going underneath there because it's a very, very thick, like a paste. And then what I'm gonna do, that's a total experiment, is I'm gonna mix my base color. I'm gonna do a base color of an orange, but I wanna make it a really light orange. And then I'm gonna mix some yellow in with that, but I don't wanna mix like too much yellow. And so what I'm going for is like a yellowish orangish color. Most of the time I mix my own colors. So this stuff is gonna be, it's almost like a paste. But the heavy gel medium, when it dries, it's going to be totally clear. So all that will be showing through is just the pigment. So I'm just going to use my palette knife and I'm just going to spread it on here. And And the one thing with these stencils, you want to be careful when you are spreading that especially if you're using a palette knife, you don't want your knife to go under the sides of the stencil. I've had that happen. And these really thin lines in here, you want to be really careful when you go over those too. And when you do this with a palette knife, you don't want it to be so thick that you can't see where your image is. I'm trying to even out the gel on the parts where I'm filled in. The only thing I'm worried about is in this area, I've got the heavy gel is showing through, and that's all going to be clear, so I want to make sure that that's totally covered with the orange, because otherwise it's going to be clear and then my ocean's going to show through in the middle of my turtle. All right, I think we're good there. Now we're going to add some color. My plan is to leave the head, the arms and legs of all the turtles, leave those orange. And I want this to be fairly wet when I do this so I can get some blending in. So I'd like the two colors to mix together instead of, I don't want just a red shell. And then I'm going to pick up a little bit of gold. And using these stencils, the really beautiful part is you don't have to stay in the lines, because you're going to pull that stencil off and everything that's outside your lines is going to come up with a stencil. Turtles are a really pretty animal, but their coloring, it's kind of drab. If you look at them in the wild, it's like olive green, not quite olive green. Somewhere between olive green and dirt, maybe. Be a good way to describe it. If you've seen my turtle sketches, I always use like wild colors with my turtles because I think they need to look better because they're such a cool animal. I think by making them a little more colorful, that gives them a little more life. I think I'm done. Actually, this one's a little bit too much red in there. All right, let's do the reveal and see if this actually worked. Pull it off this way so you can see before I do how this actually turned out. Okay, that looks cool. I'm pretty happy with that. Yeah, if you notice in here and in here, I got underneath the stencil a little bit, and actually up in here I got underneath the stencil too. So here's the final on my turtle piece. If you notice down here, especially this one right here, like it actually turned out really cool. I was really happy with, even though it got underneath the stencil, I think it looks great. I wish I would have gotten under the stencil on all of it, and then it wouldn't look so clean. And then off camera, I did another one. I did another pour, an acrylic pour with silicone. I think I used pretty much the same colors. It was just a little bit darker. And then I decided to use the seahorses. The big difference is, and these look so much cleaner, is I put the gel on first on the entire thing, and then I painted over the gel with the gold, and then a little bit of lavender in the back. You can see the lavender and gold, how I mixed them on both of them. So anyway, I would definitely advise, if you want to have a really clean stencil like that, use the heavy gel acrylic by itself, get your stencil down, and then paint over the top of the acrylic gel.